All right, here we go again. So just show you how it works. And I see this every day, but this is like one of the best yet. And again, if somebody projects today, it can change your life yesterday. So anybody's doing stuff in my adult life affected my childhood. And again, that's weird because I was asking, not asking, but questions came up in the mind about what was the childhood about. And I guess maybe it was other people also wondering, like, what does that have to do with what we're doing? Well, if you are in my adult life and you want me available to harm, you're gonna inhibit my childhood, right? It goes. There's no time or space in metaphysics. It just goes through time, go through space, based upon a power quotient. Now, power can be anti-power, so don't say, "Oh, power." So my neighbor, right? I wasn't sure whether because something happened, and it could have been Satan's stance. But the day I bought my lights for the outdoor, like 3 neighbors turned their lights off. Now again, you could have a cop going, "Oh, I'm Detective so and so, I'm PI so and so. We need you to do something for us," that type of thing. We'll give you $100, $1,000, whatever it is. Right. Or it could just be the good old boys, good old girls, KKK. "Oh, he's about equal rights and civil rights. We've got to take him out." But remember, if you're a police officer, and I told you this in 2010 before it got crazy, maybe even a little earlier, you need civil rights more than anyone else. So don't badmouth civil rights. Right. And in fact, Democrats might get busy. Right, here in a bit. Again, they're using the same battle plan, but adapting to what we have going on currently versus 2015, 16, 17, 18, that kind of thing. So again, they were suspects, but it could be Satan, right? So but that's okay. I just I lived this life long enough to know. And again, in the beginning, I said less and did less. Again, I was perfect in the way I responded. It should have taught you not to bother me. Right. Thank you, Larry. Again, you're just playing the bosses anyway. That was one of the cameras. The new cameras are so bad. I ordered hose clamps, so they're all mad. Right. Yeah, they got in my head when I ordered my hose clamps last time. I could have ordered black hose clamps. I was looking at diameter, and I thought I was looking at circumference. So I was wondering why I couldn't find hose clamps. This doesn't make sense. I've seen hose clamps, but yeah, I finally found them. So actually, I was looking at them before. So she's been doing stuff, and I couldn't tell whether because again, now she's a suspect. But again, I'm not paranoid. Obviously I'm a former federal agent that's done more work against the cartels and against a bunch of other things that will remain anonymous at the moment. Some of those things, but than any other agent and any other law enforcement officer, any other intelligence person in some cases, right? When we go into intelligence work that I've done, right? So I've conducted. I'm not done. I'm conducting. Boo, 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 boo. So I didn't know whether she was assuming my persona from Kansas, which would probably implicate Kansas law enforcement as being corrupt, or PIs, or whoever they were. Right? Law enforcement was definitely corrupt. So again, it definitely involved detectives or something like that. Right. Well, they're anti-detectives in reality once they're that. Right. So I wasn't sure whether she had some issues or she was assuming my persona based upon what somebody told her to do. I don't know if she was role playing or it was real. I just, whatever. So yesterday she comes out and I put the light on my mailbox. Right. And again, these are upgrades in anybody's world, right? Especially on a dark road like this, people walking up and down the street, when a car comes by, the lights are on. But when people are walking up and down the street at night, it's nice to have a little bit of light. So she comes out and she's rather nasty. I knew it was a projection right from the beginning. She said, "Oh, I'm beginning," and this is stuff that Deep State says. So they can just be in her head. It doesn't mean that she's part of it. But she says, this is the kind of thing they're taught to say, and it's demeaning. She could have issues as far as self-esteem and all of that. But she says, "I'm getting to believe that you're afraid of the dark." And I said, "Well, I like the light. I like light." So again, immediately the scripture picks up. They choose darkness and they will not come to the light. They despise the light. But that's seeing. That does happen on the planet. And I don't know who she is really. I've been very friendly with her, and there's no reason for her to be nasty, But again, she's a woman, and she's older, so. Right. Yeah, queen bee. She's the queen bee of the neighborhood. So I just put it in the back of my mind. And then when I tried to attach the light permanently and all, I could tell once she projected, it was a complete different ballgame. Now, there's probably others in there also. So I was doing the more permanent light, and I really did, mount, and it came out pretty good. Actually, really good. And again, as far as buying the wrong hose clamps, I have 3 tin snips. If you buy one for like $12, for like 13 or 14, for the Amazon brand, you get 3. One leaning right, one leaning left, and one straight up the middle. So it's hard nowadays to find that. Years ago, they'd have a lot of that stuff. Right? You just sit there for a while and you find your deal. But that was a deal. That was a big deal. Because if I would buy them separately, because I checked the sizes and everything, they got to be smaller or something. No, it's the same one. So if you buy them separately, they're like $30 or maybe more. Right. So it turned out okay because I've always needed something like those, and I have them now. Right. Because I bought a hose clamp kit and I had to cut it instead of just having it pre-cut. And then those I might have to cut anyway, cut off the excess. Right. But so I could tell that she was in the middle of it, and others, I'm sure, not just her, but right. So I'm like, okay, she projected. There's verification. So this is psychic verification of the metaphysics. And then last night, there wasn't a lot of light yesterday. And I suspected something was up with the new lights I bought because, and I'm returning some too, so I don't have all the lights. Like those little ones that I had with a red and blue, they're gone. Right? I was going to actually return the other ones, but I missed the return date. But they're pretty bright. I'll accept those. Right? When I bought them, they weren't the right. If what you're looking at, you believe is a 4 square, it's got square sides, but it actually has indentations. It's really weird how they did it, but I have no idea. I guess they thought they were like Chinese people think, they overthink their products sometimes. Right. It'd be easier just to make it square and it look much better, I think. But they're fine. They look almost square. They kind of put it into made it concave or something. And it was kind of stupid. But they are pretty nice for the price. They actually are very bright, and they go soft white or white. And although if you look at it at a certain angle while it's on white, it has the tinge of the yellow because I guess the filament just overlaps somehow, right? Or whatever it has. I guess the LED. So when I bought these, I suspected that something was up when they had a high and a low. So I'm like, Usually that means, so in essence, it should be on, I don't want it on a motion, but it's probably only sufficient for like a motion. Right. But we'll see. I have warranty on that. I bought an extra warranty with both. I have another set of those coming today. Right. But again, it's not the summer. So for the winter, if I have to put it on low, that's fine as long as I have a certain amount of light to to make it, into the evening. You don't have to go all night, but at least, again, if you get, 2 o'clock is probably the target cutoff. Actually 3. 2 o'clock they leave the bars. in most places, and at 3 o'clock, they're in bed by then. Right. So last night, fine. Last 2 nights. Last night, they went dark at like 10 o'clock or something. I've never had a solar lamp do that. And now it could be a bad battery. There is a phenomena for these products. I guess any battery products that you get a couple days out of them, and then poof, they're gone. Right? The battery could be bad. I don't think the photo cells are bad, but I think the battery might not be holding the charge. That happens, especially if it sits in the warehouse, a year or two. Right. So I have to wait. I have another one coming tonight, so I'll be able to figure out what it is by using that one. Actually, it'd take a few days to figure it out. But she's like, "You're afraid of the dark." It's like, well, I'm not afraid of the dark. It's just light is good. Light, light. There's no street lamps or anything here. Now the neighbor guys, some young guys, they get a good go. Yeah, young people, anymore. I mean, the older people are just shit. They're so focused on self. It's disgusting, right? Even selfless people are doing charity for selfish purpose and selfish reasoning. There are people that have went to their death for selfish reasoning. And just to prove a point and stuff like that. And again, metaphysical projection. So she messed up my whole lighting thing last night. Could that change the weather? Of course. Again, remember, she's in with, if she's part of it, and if she's evil, she's part of it, whether she knows it or not. Right? She's in with all the other devils. So they're routing through her. But again, it is what it is. But it got, it could be Satan's stance where they're trying to make her look that way. But she said a couple things before, and I'm like, it's like my mother, right? Right? They'd be able to get in her head, right? But she could be getting paid too. Who knows? She's not a wealthy woman, right? That's the problem. Is I was supposed to have my money, and there's wealthy. The money will help protect you, but also you're less likely to take, chump change to do you, right? Again, my family actually sold their wealth when they did me. My family did me. They're deep. My brother's a little bit deep state, but I think they do. I think the way Hashem explained it, they do enough well that they'll eventually, beat it, and probably get to heaven at a certain point. Not, it's not the traditional heaven system. If you look in the scriptures, it says that, and there's also Kabbalah and all that. So these rabbis for years have been receiving. Right? And if you get rid of a lot of the fluff, because if you look at it, well, this is a whole system. If you get rid of the fluff and just go for the meat of the matter, you'll understand how all that works a lot easier than being some scientist of Kabbalah, and remembering every jot and tittle of thing to remember. But Hashem does that a lot of times to focus people that he can't trust, which means this: if he focuses you on a religion that requires you to spend all day studying things, then your mind's occupied. Right. Thank you. So again, that's a lot of what religion is for a lot of people. But again, I think religions have failed at this point. There you go, Larry. So the system we're putting in, of course, given enough time and enough corruption, which means that cops don't investigate it and all of that, but they can overcome anything. That they act like they're the superstars of all this, but it's bullshit. If the FBI, if the CIA, if the cops did their job, then they couldn't do any of it. And that's where they all end up going to hell, right? Because they're given much and they did little. Right. Again, they're in that deep state system. Remember, the first term, I brought it out, then Trump and his people picked it up, right? And they brought, the idea was, their defense was that they're, a higher calling. And again, they do that to get into my mind, because obviously that's what I spoke about for years. This is a higher ethic, and they try to mimic me. Again, and I get that information from God. Right? So the idea was that, it might be illegal, but we're really the thing that keeps us all free, which is absolute bullshit. It's the thing that keeps them free out of prison and enriching them for criminal activity. Right. Well, the thing is, you're killing all the. So how does the nation exist? Based upon the power of its people. So they're killing the United States power, and it isn't just Democrats, right? I guarantee there's people in Trump's organization that are doing it right now, and they figure whatever Trump doesn't know can't harm him, but that's bullshit, right? Because it's metaphysical. And that's where I think some of Tulsi Gabbard's work needs to come in or has come in. I don't know where she is on it, but right. Thanks, Larry. No, they just have no problem with being corrupt because they have such a large network of people. They figure they're okay. Right. Clean the stove top here. Yeah, this upgrade to gas stoves with the big grill, great thing. That's fabulous. I couldn't ask for anything better than that. So I really did luck out. It's just strange. This is the only property with gas, right? Which means I went to the wrong property. Look at some paper towels. I want to clean the stove here. I lived in the wrong property. I should have moved to the other one. And that's where all the Indian people lived, and that's probably where I should have lived. What was that place called? I don't even remember. Something like Lincoln Estates. I don't remember. It was a little bit more than where I was living, and it was gas heat. And I thought, don't go get gas heat, but right, it's just. Well, I was receiving, Kansas, by the time I got to rent where I wanted to rent, or got to the point of actually being able to rent, I had been there like 6 months. At least, I think. Right. Actually, maybe even a little more. Yeah, 7 or 8 months. Because they were blocking me. Now, the one I was going to rent was only like 9 something, and it was a studio at Falcon Ridge. I don't know, the ins and outs of it, but they were told not to let me rent. And the way to not let me rent is to say that the studio wasn't available and that it never existed and doesn't exist. But of course, they, changed the price to a trigger number in a short period of time, right? And then, which was like $500 more. Now, I may be the only one seeing that. So if you're a cop and they're telling you somebody's crazy, you have to make sure that that's true if you want to. If you want to play the game, play the game. But they may actually be seeing something different than you. Again, crooks could have had conversations with hundreds of people, and you, as a law enforcement officer, would never be able to see it with what you have available to you. It's like it's a digital tunnel. People in X are corrupt. People in Facebook are corrupt. And they have the capability to radicalize a person independent of law enforcement ever seeing them. And they come from foreign countries, H-1B. As well as crooked law enforcement that moved on to get their payment in multi-millions for selling out the government while they were in there. Thank you, Larry. So you may be looking at somebody's internet and go, I don't know what they're talking about, but it's because it's a digital tunnel. And spies can do it also. They can hack into an app. And Right. So nothing's real, and there's no like, well, my privacy. You really think you have privacy? Those privacy cases are there when people sue and all that to make you believe you have privacy. Those people are most likely the other side of the deep state. And they really don't care about privacy. They only care about their privacy. That's the first lesson of the deep state. Just care about yourselves. So you might have people that look very caring and they're in churches and they're doing charity, but it's an illusion. It's a protection so nobody knows what the deep state is doing. Well, these people are very charitable. But when it comes, it's just a scam. It's like when the deep state comes and says, don't be charitable. And again, they teach them, worry about yourself. Don't worry about anyone else. And then you can do charity. But that moment they tell you don't do it, that's when God needs you to do it. So you have no charity credit anymore. That's how it works. That's the world. It's all fake. But you have no privacy. The privacy cases are just there to make you think you have privacy. And they go, well, yeah, because we have to catch the pedophiles. Bullshit. The pedophiles are the ones that are running the darn thing. Right. I agree. Thanks, Larry. So again, it's the deep state thinking or sending that thought out that they're important and they have to protect people. And again, they're just taking care of themselves corruptly. Right? If they never entered into it, they wouldn't have to protect themselves. They're the porn world exploding and all that. So are the churches. Because they're in a church to show you just how much better they are than everyone else. Again, they're generally low self-esteem people. And that's how they do it. That's how they fix their mind. But again, it's like crack cocaine. They just need more of it. Oh, need it. Let's go do somebody. Right? And that's what happened in the United States, just a bunch of corrupt. And then, of course, the immigrants are bringing that. That's the way they run up foreign nations. Right? More so than they do here, but again, it's increased. That looks great. Thank you, Lord. You got to thank the Lord if you can clean your oven and your stove and all that. No, the crazy part is if somebody's agreeing with you about this is not happening, none of this, then they're either corrupt or they're afraid of that system. That's it. No other options available. Well, there's 3 separate bulbs on this one, and they're not really bulbs. They're LEDs, and they make it look like a bulb. I don't know what the function of that is. I guess to make it look like a traditional light or something, which is nice because the filaments can be a little bit bright at night, on the LEDs if you use like hard white. But there's 3 separate ones, and I have to change the setting on all 3, so I have to spin the globe off. Right? It's just not real far. It's like about a couple inches or something. Right? And change the setting on each. I theoretically have another set of those arriving. I think the battery may have gone on it, although it could have come from the factory charged and then just slowly used up that charge. I don't know why they didn't do it. These all should have a USB plug on them, right? So you can actually plug it in when, like in the winter, to keep it charged. Right. It's kind of a waste. I mean, it's like for them, it's probably like it's at the most $5, right? Probably less. So, which means is when you don't have a lot of sun like this time of the year, you take a USB cord. You can buy like a 20, 30, 40 foot, whatever you need, 5 foot, 10 foot. And then you would plug it into a wall outlet, and that would keep the rechargeable solar. right? But it would still receive some solar, so it would also charge solar. So again, that's an update that needs to happen. You know, when I'm here, I can think a lot more about what we need to do to fix the world. Right. So all the solar products like that should, actually all solar products should have an option to plug in a USB. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can buy a $10 strip of party lights and it has that, you know, the RGB party lights, right? String lights, and it has that option. They're actually the ones that have the option the most, I think, is the string lights. Maybe because a lot of people put them on the porches and stuff. And it has the option, the panel is actually, you know, long enough to put where you need. So I could order a $10 pair of party string, but I order this $100 lamppost and it doesn't have a USB option. So that's kind of crazy. Obviously, the materials are more expensive on this, but right. We agree, sir. Yeah, that mailbox light project worked real well. That stayed lit for a while. That's why I'm wondering. Right now, in the morning, I did look out like about 4:35, and the lights were down. So, but again, that's the way to handle that. We should have a USB option. Now, on those separate small like pathway lights, I guess that could be a bit cumbersome because, right, it's a lot of cord. Right. You have like 15. So, you know, those maybe no, but when you're talking about a lamp post like that where somebody's paying $100, right? Even for the $40 ones, I mean, you know, if you charge $5 more for your item and it has a USB, it's probably less than $5 to tell the truth. The big cost for you more and you had a USB option, yeah, I'd go for that. Right. Right. Yeah, another one would be a jack for a solar panel, where you can put an independent solar panel, so you could place it somewhere maybe outside of where it's at, the immediate vicinity. Like I was buying a dress light. See, they're killing my intuition by stalking me on Amazon. Right. And then again, my intuition is where to move. And well, the thing with the studio in Lenexa, Kansas, is that it had all hard floors, and they knew that's what I mean. I'll tell you right now, God wanted me in there, and God built that for me. That may not even exist, but for me, because most people don't look for a 740 square foot or 750 square foot studio. I do. Been looking for it for years. So God may have actually just built that because I would come along to Kansas in the future and I could rent it. So again, you got a lot explaining to do, all of you. Given much, did little. Thanks, Larry. Given much, did little is what I said, just in case you missed it. Right. These things don't go around walls very good. It's the best you're going to get, right, as far as these type of devices. I probably need to sit down and adjust it. There's a lot of adjustments in it. I just kind of did voice boost, which with this mic may be the wrong option. See anything else? Well, they're in your phone. So just, again, when you're doing high-tech stuff, no cell phones, or high-tech, high importance, high priority, high threat investigation meetings. And again, don't get on your phone outside the courthouse, outside the federal building, outside your home. Even in your home, if you have contractors coming in doing work, Maduro may be listening to you. Right. Thanks, Larry. Now, there's Mexicans. Deep state has allowed Mexican spies to operate in the United States for decades. They're just corrupt, man. They don't care. It's just money. They're guaranteed. They're shown, like how they showed me how powerful and how crushing everything they are and they could do and all this. They show them the opposite. You just, I mean, to them, it's just, they're Satan. Right? That whatever they say goes. You'll never be arrested for crimes. In fact, the cops will pat you on your back once you do the crime. Right? Right. That's, again, this is developed off of how we would operate in a foreign nation. So you can imagine how sublime it is here, how horrendous it is because nobody's stopping them here. There's the chicken shit spies that don't want to go to a foreign nation and do it because they're afraid. Right. So they come here and they work with foreigners here to destroy the United States. One neighbor's got like two. Is that it's on his property, right? I can't tell whether it's two properties or one, but it looks like he's got two flags, not one, two. Now they'll go to hell, man. You don't have to worry about any of it, all of you. This is just, again, once you get to the end of your life and you look back, if you're real, you'll be like, this was nothing, right? But again, it does affect the follow-on time. The way God and the angels and all that, all the spirits explain it to me is they can't, and again, this is why Satan here, we can't trust more. We can't trust that person. Again, they're fighting God. Essentially, that's the idea. In the afterlife, God can't let you certain places because your minds are what they are. Because you'll ruin it all. It's just like an immigrant coming here with this idea that they're seeking a better life, a more fair life, but they're not about that. They're about them getting. So if getting means they're corrupt, then they'll be corrupt. Now, that did permeate the United States, and all that drug money permeated the United States. Right? The Republican Party and the administration, not everything, but they're doing my plan that I outlined back when, even before Bondi, but we did the pill mills. But that whole, right then there, I said, okay, we did the pill mills. Now we got to do this. And, for the next couple of years, I outlined this, what we're doing now. Right? Well, there's no doubt that they want to get rid of Maduro, and that's, kind of fluff, whatever that is for me, right? Because I think we could have used Maduro, right? But well, you went the other direction. That's fine. Well, there's no political consistency. Well, come on, communist. He's really a communist. He's not a communist. Right. He's not a communist, that's for sure. But I mean, he's traditional Soviet communist, where iron-fisted rule. Putin's a communist. If you're using that terminology. They never left being communists in reality, but they were never communists in traditional sense. They weren't Marxist. They weren't altruistic. Right? I mean, really, Melania's family, they reaped the benefits of being communist, right? But they weren't. It wasn't communism, right? It was a form of elitism, right? And it didn't take very long. I mean, there were altruistic people over the years, but and again, they were usable to those that weren't. But if you go back to the Bolsheviks, what I didn't know, there were other Sheviks. There was like Mensheviks or something like that. And what happened is when they took over, they instantly became that thing that they told everybody to overthrow, like instantly. And they wrote everybody else out. Right. So I'm not sure exactly what happened in Romania. My father, I do know people moved into their house. I don't know if they moved out or not. Well, my grandmother, I'm sure my grandmother and her husband were not, Mama Mari, I met her here. The husband had committed suicide shortly after being released from prison. After, he was a cop, an inspector of police. So my father, traditional, like, father's a cop, the son is a lawyer, So my stepfather had studied to be a lawyer. Right. That's generally when you want to better your children. A lot of people say don't be a cop, just be a lawyer or something like that. Right. My father actually under the communists was what's called an efficiency expert. So, which is very difficult in the communist country because people lose motivation based upon not being able to get anywhere by working harder. Right. So when he came to the United States, escaped and went through all that, and finally got to the United States. He lived in Turkey, France, I think, and then got here. Right. And then his wife went with him, but she died of cancer somewhere along the way. I don't remember where. He got a business degree, so he got hired on to be an auditor, and then having this experience as an efficiency expert kind of played into that. Right. He would audit, for large loans and, monitor those loans at times. Somebody did him. It may have been the deep state. Again, it could have been payback for, Ceausescu and all that. Because Ceausescu's people were paying people. I believe the Soviets were paying so many people, it's not even funny. But there's the obvious spy and then the one that secreted even further. Right. But he got dinged for a loan that he told him not to approve. I mean, that's typical deep state. Right. Because they want to destroy your mind. So the idea is you're the only person that stood up and said no loan, and then they fire you saying the bad loan was the reason. Right. So he worked at, stocking shelves for a while because we had relatives in the supermarket industry. I don't remember which was it, Pathmark or Acme maybe? I can't remember. They were all managers. Like my uncles and my aunt, they were managers at the supermarkets. And so he eventually, this is weird too. It's almost like, I'm not sure what it was, but it's almost like somebody did it. So he gets hired by this firm and the associates in New Jersey, and then they end up taking over the bank he used to work for. And I think he went full circle. Right. He may have steered it. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, he was part of the freedom fighter group, and he did what he could, to help out over there. And he bribed people. I mean, obviously, if he could bribe people and stuff, that it was just their time was limited. He just had to put something together. That was the biggest problem, also, because people don't have. Then they can be bribed. Again, we're entering into that zone here where people don't have. All right. Well, you're saying, okay, so what you have to do on those figures, I'm not here to scumbag the administration, but I'm here to help you. Okay, I don't know what Trump knows, but you're saying the Thanksgiving dinner is cheaper. That's fine. But if I have to buy, let's say, lights, I think the prices are okay, but I don't know what everybody's buying and what the prices are and what the inflation is. But there's inflation outside of that. Right? If I have to buy lights to light up my property at night, am I paying $20, $30 more? Right. It looks like the prices are fluctuating. Some are still up real high, but it looks like some are starting to come down. Thank you. Well, you have to monitor all the goods. You can't just monitor, my breakfast. People don't live by breakfast alone. or the Thanksgiving meal. And again, it may be a certain Thanksgiving meal that's different than my Thanksgiving meal. And again, one of the tricks they use, okay, so, oh yeah, if I buy ground beef that you specify, I'll die of heart disease at age 30. So if they buy, like, something is loaded up, like we bought these foods and these, our economy is doing good, but it could be cheaper foods, which people don't eat to stay healthy. Right. So you have to be careful of that one. And really, some of the foods that are healthier, that are more expensive, are not more expensive to manufacture or create or cook or whatever it is they do to. Well, first off, you don't have to buy as much salt, right? And when it comes to oils, and canola oil is just as cheap as the other oil, and other ingredients. They're not. It's not like it was before. Like organic, in some cases, you can go to a store and organic is cheaper than non-organic, right? Or just in that ballpark also. So. And again, everybody's on TikTok and all that. Why don't they finish it? Yeah, the young people here, they ride trucks, I guess, and they turned out to be good people. At least, from first blush, trying to help me. And then they're like, well, I'm sorry you couldn't find it, buddy. I'm like, it's like a lot of the young people are. I haven't spoken to young people in a long time. And I mean, in their 20s, I guess. Remember, I spoke to that communist in Colorado, or socialist. Right. And he showed me that he understood the difference between Russia, what Russia was, and what China is, and all that, and what he was seeking. Yeah, nice there. Right, that's kind of scam. He saw it as scam, corruption and scam. He didn't necessarily use those terms, but. So they're not like what we fought in the Cold War. In fact, that's how we never really focused on taking down Russia until a certain point, or the Soviet. I guess before it was Soviet, then it became Soviet Union, right? Well, because they said the people take care of people, throw out the King George. It made sense, but it was bullshit. Right. Just like, MAGA can be bullshit at times. I mean, it's just a fact of life. Right. Now, if you focus on being Republicans instead of quote unquote MAGA, you might get somewhere. Well, because if you go too hardline MAGA, they'll throw you out just because it's just annoying. Right. Well, at this point, MAGA is manipulated by spies very easily. And that's what's going on right now with all that dissension. I told you that before, I'd tell you it again. Like I give you some good advice, MAGA will say we have to destroy him because it's not MAGA. But is it MAGA or not MAGA? It probably isn't one way or the other. It's just, again, that's how the spies will manipulate MAGA people. So if you destroy green, if you put Loomer instead of Green in, which I'd find it difficult to believe that people in Georgia would vote for, backwoods Georgia would vote for Loomer. Right. But, I mean, it could happen. Right. But, I mean, just think of the difference. I mean, Marge can get out there, but she's woken up over the years to the fact that she like when she first went in, she didn't understand how government worked. And again, the administration doesn't understand how government works, and I don't think they care to. Right. But the only thing that will condemn the Democrats is if the people believe the immigration thing will go back to the way it was. And I don't know if the Democrats can actually prove anything to the people that it won't. I don't know if that's provable at this point. No, again, the idea was, it's the same, they're doing the same mistakes that Trump had. So Trump believes that MAGA put him in? No, it was a coalition. So there's your hardcore votes are important, but they're not going to vote the other side. Now nowadays they jump off and do the independent thing, right? But what put Trump in was a coalition, right? And to discount parts of that coalition creates an issue. Right? To the Democrats, they're going hardcore with the immigrants, and yeah, there is a popular thing that says, "Oh, she's bringing my packages." All right, hang on. Yeah, I'm online. I guess Amazon made a mistake.
Yep.
I was wondering where that woman lived. I forgot about those already. Nah, I got to stick to my guns. I can't. I already ordered my replacements. Right. Because that's exactly how a spy would act that wants to, ingratiate themselves to you. And they would make everybody else, pay everybody else to be evil, you see? So what it does, even if they're not doing that, it makes it dangerous for people. Because anybody that's going to be nice to you, you'll be more susceptible to. So again, the deep state has caused the American public and our elderly and our isolated people and the people they isolate to be more susceptible to foreign scams and even local scams. Because that's how the scammer acts. Hi, how are you? Oh, you're such a nice person. Yes. Why, thank you. And then they take everything you have. Right. Regular. So again, the first thing in my mind, again, Tashem said I was testing you. In my mind was, this is a nice lady. I'm sure she didn't do anything to it. But that's BS. Right. So what they do in the Marshal Service when they do the spycraft thing is you have your witch, which was Karen Shelton, and you have your devil, which is Rick. What was his name? Rick Slick. What was his name? Rick Henry. Right. And then they bring in other people to be your buddy. So again, I'm telling you, it's happening in your police departments at times. They're recruiting people for corruption. Now, if you're a corrupt boss, which is, in this day and age is a big possibility, right? Then I'm sure you're not going to do anything about it. You're right, that's how we do it. No, that woman, when I saw her, like my first blush was if I was, again, she's a little younger than me, but not much. If I was younger and she was younger and she didn't have a man, I don't know if she does or not. I think so she has a guy or something. But it would work. So Hashem will tell me when, like a lot of women that were deep state or went with the deep state, if we could have broke them out, I could have married them. We'd had a great life, right? So again, there's a lot. What's it? ICE touched in, and they said it's not everybody, but we'll tell you right now that and again, they said it's the same as if they come in, they tell us something honest about a drug, immigrant drug dealers or even drug dealers and stuff like that. We'll give them residency. At a certain point, they'll get their official residency, and we'll move them out of there and protect them, right? But at first, they have to work for us. Right? But if a woman, a Latino, a South American, Central American woman would have married you, I guarantee she'd have been a citizen, and she would have been golden. She'd have been golden. Her family would have been golden. Instead, they go for the corruption. Right. Like nobody could take that citizenship. We'd fight to the last man or woman. because I was inside helping them. I was in Fleola back then too. Fleola, Fleola showed signs that I'll tell you, they were lucky that I went back to Fleola, but I felt like helping the agents, so I went back in because I was helping Border Patrol, with the Bush assassination. I was saying, you're being assassinated. Be careful where you eat. The same stuff, right? So. So I figured I went back in Florida. But when they were assassinating me in the Marshal Service, I said, well, I got my Fleola lapsed. I said, I better start my flow up. They're playing games here, right? So I go to start my Fleola up. It doesn't start for like 10 months. So Fleola was part of it. And then they showed they were part of it again. Well, because they're corrupt, man. Once you get corrupt people in those positions, it doesn't matter what the truth is. I mean, they cut their noses, bite their face off all day, but what they say is, well, look, Larry doesn't have anything. We have something. Well, you'd have more and I'd have more if you didn't kill me. Right? So, again, they focus on destroying the person's quality of life so they can keep, they're like, willfully ignorant. Right? Oh, but he doesn't. Well, you're committing felonies each time that you take from him. Serious felonies. So, it is what it is. I wonder if I'm wearing this yarmulke with a Star of David, and I just throw it on real quick in the morning, but I don't know if I looked in the mirror. Yeah, it's a little bit off. I'll center it. Now I figured it was, that's well Satan plays you. Because they're clowns, man. They're all clowns, so they'll like my neighbor's a poltergeist. They're poltergeist. I worked with poltergeists. Now, the next level is a devil. Right. I mean, face it, I don't care how many times they go to church. I don't care what kind of money they have. I don't care what charity they did. That's why Rabbi Shaul Benjamin, that's why he, brought up the fake charity system. And most churches are fake charity. Satan comes along. That lady, I guess she likes the light too, but again, spies could imitate. The way their will is to look like they like the light. Well, they love the darkness. Again, Satan has that connotation also, coming as an angel of light. But that lady, she has a lot of lights over her. She has the softer lights, but it's funny because I looked at my property. It didn't transfer to the photo, so I didn't post it. And maybe if I took it off the phone or something and looked at a bigger screen, it would be. But it looks like a landing strip. At night, it looks like an LZ. Or actually, an LZ. It looks like an LZ at night. I guess. So we got to do prayers here in a little bit. There's a no. Like I breathed and I could hear no in the background, so they're knowing it. Many of them are working for governments right now. I got to do the prayers. So stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.